So you're sitting on a Moroccan rooftop sipping mint tea. The sun is setting over these beautiful ancient clay walls, and you're hearing the call to prayer echo throughout the Medina.
Then a motorcycle zooms by. Someone is trying to hustle you for Moroccan oil, and you realize that Google Maps doesn't even work on your phone.
That's the thing about Marrakesh. It's luxury meets chaos, but are you ready for it? Welcome to the Upgrade Edit, where luxury travel meets culture, current events, and unfiltered conversations you won't hear anywhere else. I'm Fed.
And I'm Sierra, and we're your luxury travel advisors for all things good and all things global.
So here's the thing. Marrakesh keeps popping up in my DMs. Like, people are like, should I go? Is it worth the hype? Can I go to Morocco solo? Like, something's going on. It's in the air. Something's in the air.
And I think people have a vision of Marrakech that's kind of based on a 1950s movie or like some super filtered photo that they saw from some influencer, but that's just not it. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, it's really none of those things are quite like the reality. Yes, you're going to get the magical lanterns and the Riads and the souks, but it's definitely not Zero Hustle. It's definitely not that Casablanca movie from way, way back in the day. It's
not it.
We need to bring y'all into 2025 of what the true reality of traveling luxury in Marrakesh is today.
And that's why we are doing the unfiltered version and recommendations of the destination. And this episode is going to save you thousands of dollars, and we know for sure hours of frustration.
Definitely. We're going to tell you what the luxury travel blogs are not telling you, what the influencers are not telling you. We're going to break down Marrakesh, why it's having its luxury moment, how to navigate it, and most importantly, like what to expect when Instagram meets reality.
If that even happens. But look, we love Marrakesh, and we just want you to have 100% of the truth, not like a half truth or sanitized reality of the trip. And that's why we're here today.
Definitely, because it's definitely one of those rare places where you can have a true 5-star experience, but you're also going to get that cultural immersion that a lot of places really don't offer anymore. And I think that's what makes it such a beautiful place, but you just have to know how to do it right.
Mm-hmm. And for sure, it's one of the most iconic places in Northern Africa. So let's get into it.
So let's find out, like, what's going on?
Let's
tell me.
Literally spill the tea, and you're going to expect a lot of tea in Marrakesh. Mint tea specifically. Mint tea. Mint tea. That's one of my favorite kinds other than lemon. So like it's the perfect sweet spot for all the things that luxury travelers are craving. Like you said before, it's the perfect blend of culture, but then also luxury amenities.
Yeah. So let's start with the big question. Why is Marrakesh having such a moment right now, especially in the luxury travel space?
I think it's just a blend of Moroccan craftsmanship, and then also you have modern hotel franchises right there. Yeah. I think it's really an experience where we've said it before, like you can feel like a local, you can really be one with the culture, but here, like, you're also enduring the luxury. We've all seen the women with their beautiful scarves and beautiful dresses.
Definitely.
And that's something you can experience.
No, totally. And I think what makes Morocco so special is that, like, you know, when you go some places and you're at a hotel and you feel like I could be anywhere in the world. Like, where am I? Am I in Dubai? Am I in New York? Am I in Miami? Like, right. It all kind of looks and feels the same. Like, this literally could be any hotel room. And people are really tired of that. They want something that's rooted in culture. They want something that feels like it belongs where it is. And Marrakesh delivers that. You have these riads that are like these private palaces. You have gardens, courtyards. I mean, the culture is there in Marrakesh, and you're still getting that luxury vibe where you know exactly where you are. You don't feel like you could just be dropped off on the middle of a map and it be the same as anywhere.
Right. Do you think that there's an increase in interest in the global south versus like the European hotspots?
I think so. I feel like now, especially with like BRICS on the rise and just we're moving into a multipolar world. That's no secret. And I think there's such a thirst and desire to really go somewhere where you're immersed in that culture, and you can still have luxury experiences, but get history, get something that, not that Morocco's been untouched. We'll cover the history of the country and everything about it, but it's retained its spirit and its essence. I think that's what sets it apart, and especially in terms of other places like in the Middle East, like your Dubai's, and it feels like you really could be anywhere. It's really, really commercialized, overdeveloped, and I think the thing about Marrakesh that's drawing so many luxury travelers to it now is that it has the spirit of where it is.
It's close to its roots.
Exactly. It has that luxury vibe, but it's still culturally maintained its heritage.
And how do you think it's been perceived or changed since the celebrity effect, which is now a lot of times content creator effect over the years?
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I mean, Rihanna's been there, Gigi Hadid's been there, the Kardashians have been there, and we all saw the Anna Delvey show on Netflix.
What a place to be, Delulu.
Right? You saw how she went and had her whole little saga at La Mamounia Hotel in Morocco, which, it's still iconic. You should definitely go there, but it's on the map, so many celebrities have gone there. It's been featured in shows. People are thinking about it when they think of North Africa or just a cultural destination that they want to go. And not to mention, so many luxury hotels are there. You have the Four Seasons. You have Aman Jannah, which is the Aman property in Marrakesh. You have El Fen, Royal Mansour, which is where Rihanna stayed, and so many other celebrities have stayed. They're drawing celebs and high-end travelers because they have the luxury accommodations to back it up.
And we went through a list of the traditional luxury hotels, but then we mentioned in the beginning also the Riads and how much of an appeal that is. And when people say, well, if a client says, I don't want to stay somewhere where there's 300 rooms, 200 rooms, how would you position a Riad to them and how that's a unique experience?
Definitely. I mean, first of all, let's not get it twisted. There are some, like the Royal Mansour Hotel is a hotel that also has private Riads. So you can get the hotel experience of being in a Riad, because there'll be properties that have their own private villas that are in Riad fashion and still be connected to the hotel. And I think the difference really is kind of that more private, personal feeling than being in a room inside of a 300-room property. It really feels like you're almost in your own home. It's very intimate. It's very exclusive. I think that's the difference. But again, Marrakesh is so special because you can get both, right? If you want one,
you could split. You can do 2 nights,
literally.
Right? Yeah.
It's so special, and I think that's some of the in those other destinations that I mentioned, like the Dubai's and the other kind of North African cities or Middle Eastern cities that have really kind of come up in the past couple of years. It's just those high-rise hotels. The hotels kind of feel like they could be anywhere. They don't keep that special charm. And Morocco just does such a good job of doing that.
Right. And I know sustainability is a huge topic across all global destinations. And what I find interesting is that the area, Morocco, and of course, Marrakesh, they prioritize that with solar energy and then also making sure that they're preserving their riads.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think some of the most special parts about these riads is that the way that the architecture is structured is they have a natural cooling system built in, which is why when you go in, it starts with that massive courtyard that runs in the middle. It really allows for the cool air. So you're in, obviously, Africa. It's hot.
Like no one's running away from that fact, okay?
It's hot, but that natural ventilation, that natural, I mean, when you think about like our ancestors, like they really knew what they were doing before the AC was ACing.
They figured it out.
They figured it out.
Black cloths.
How to dress, how to build the buildings and the architecture to keep people cool. And I think that they're really leaning into that. And obviously solar energy is on the rise as well. I think that that's something that's so special about Morocco because Morocco just has such a beautiful history. I think the history there and the local people have woven their story into the culture that when you go to Marrakesh today, you feel like you're really stepping into that. And I think it's important to talk about that because there's this common misconception that all of North Africa and the Middle East are Arabs. And when you think about that, right, they speak Arabic, there's Arab culture, but we forget that through the Arab conquest, a lot of these regions became Arabized, but they have local indigenous communities. And I think it's so beautiful that there are parts of Northern Africa and other parts of the Middle East that have retained that. And the history of the Moroccan people is so beautiful because they have their people, the indigenous people are called the Amazigh people. They're sometimes referred to as Berbers, but they call themselves Amazigh.
Right. And a quick question on that, because I know when we were doing this research for our clients, we realized that a lot of countries may have certain terms of their people that are okay there, but us as foreigners is not. So do you think you should respect what people are called within their region or go based on what publications or what research is telling you?
Yeah, I feel like I want to call people what they call themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
They're the Amazigh people. That's the indigenous people, what they call themselves. That's their culture. And so I want to call that. Also, just thinking about the history of the word Berber, right? Look into it. It's not the best history, it comes from the Roman word for barbarian. And so I think that just to pay homage and respect to that local community, they're indigenous to North Africa, especially Morocco and Algeria. They are the Amazigh people, and it's important to call them by that. They also have their own language, right? Like when people think of Morocco, they think people speak Arabic or, Morocco was colonized by France, and they also, because they share a border with Spain, actually has like the shortest connection between Africa and Spain is through the Strait of Gibraltar, which they share. That's the connection between Morocco and Spain. So you might hear some Spanish or, French.
There's a lot of French influence.
French influence, but they have their own language. They speak Tamazight, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know you guys are going to
read us.
Right? They have their own alphabet. It's called Tifnag. And you'll see it on the local signs there. So the signs will be in English, they'll be in Arabic, and then they have the local indigenous writing with the alphabet and the names as well. So it's just nice to see how much they've preserved that. And it's actually an official language. The Tamazight language is an official language in Algeria and Morocco. So it's not just the Arabic, it's not just the French, but they definitely have preserved that indigenous culture there. And they're so diverse. The Amazigh people, they come in all colors, shades. In the different tribes, so they're tribal. So the different tribes have their own subcultures within them. And they just have such a strong sense of identity based on their language, their land, their blood. They have such a rich artistic history. The Amazigh women, actually, they're very known for facial tattoos. It's not as common anymore in the younger generation.
And also jewelry.
Yes, the jewelry. And especially with the older women, you'll still see they have some of the facial tattoos. It's something that's just and the headgear too. It's so unique to their culture. If you're going to Marrakesh and you want to learn about the indigenous community there and the Amazigh people, definitely visit the Berber Museum in Jardin Majorelle, because it's really such a unique opportunity to learn about a culture that is Moroccan culture, right? Arab culture is too, but I think sometimes in that pan-Arabism, you get that erasure of some of the indigenous culture that makes North Africa so beautiful. So I really want to highlight the Amazigh culture.
Very important. And I don't want to hear any excuses, because it's about 5 minutes from the St. Laurent Museum, which I've seen a lot of creators go to and make sure they get their picture.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're done there, make sure you go over and learn more about the indigenous culture.
Definitely.
And history, please.
Absolutely.
And I know another thing, which I've seen a lot in the press, they also have an international film festival that's actually in November and December. So that's where you'll see, of course, a lot of people in the entertainment industry go down. And then you'll also have a lot of travelers that also go down, because I think that time is just festive overall. And it also brings a lot of the big names, which is really good as far as tourism. I can only imagine how much they're making on luxury travel during those months.
Yeah. Speaking of how much they're making, let's talk about money for a second, because I think people are surprised by the cost of luxury in Marrakesh. Like, they're thinking like, oh, it's in Africa. They have their own local currency. I'm going to be able to go there.
So small-minded, y'all. It's okay, though. We're here to educate.
Listen, they think that they're going to go and get a bang for their buck. This ain't Southeast Asia,
No,
y'all.
it's not. Prepare the bucks. So a top tier Riad that we talked about earlier could run you between $500 to $1,000 a night, and that's depending on which room. We'll make sure to share all of the different room descriptions in our show notes. But if you're getting any extended packages, any extra services within your concierge, it can go up even more than that.
Oh, yeah. It all adds up. And again, you're still getting incredible value compared to some of the similar luxury experiences you can get in Europe, in the US. And I mean, again, the craftsmanship, the culture, the architecture, the food, it's unmatched, but it does come at a price point that's probably more similar to what you would expect in the States versus thinking that you're coming and engaging in kind of like third world, quote unquote third world country where you're going to be able to really stretch your dollar. That's not necessary. Yeah, and that's not really the case in Marrakesh. So definitely be prepared with that, because I think that's that's a big misconception that a lot of people have.
Yeah. Do we want to go through the unique desert experience that you can have there?
Yeah. So actually, Marrakesh isn't too far from the Agafay Desert. And so a lot of those pics that you see of people riding the camels throughout the desert, that's actually not too far from Marrakesh. You can even take a day trip there. But again, if you want to have one of those luxury desert experiences where you have the tents and the private tours and all and the high-end dining, that's going to run you about $300 to $500 per person.
Right. Because the ones that is not considered luxury or doesn't have amenities, you're walking through the desert with your tours, guides, and the camels. So if you want to make sure you have somewhere where you can rest, you can sit, you can have your pictures and not have anyone behind or in front of you, it's going to cost.
Yeah. So definitely keep that in mind. Do you want to go into, I think, the biggest trend that's really popping up right now, which is the rise of the women-owned co-ops? I really think that's so important.
I absolutely love, because I think a lot of people assume Northern Africa or in different Muslim cultures that women are not respected or their businesses aren't highlighted, but Morocco has put a lot of effort within highlighting their different women businesses. You'll see it through street vendors, but then they also have official centers for these businesses. They even have a culinary center where women can go and get training, and you can actually go and take cooking classes with them. You can have lunch or dinners with them. And I think that's just absolutely so important to highlight the local businesses, especially women-owned businesses.
For sure. And I think that's just part of like the bigger shift that's happening in Moroccan tourism right now, where there's really an emphasis on ethical shopping and supporting local artisans directly. I mean, when you're going to these places, right, you're experiencing the culture, that the hand-woven textiles that you can't find anywhere else. Morocco is the world's producer of argan oil. So for your skin, your hair, you're getting that from the source. The beautiful ceramics, like these are things that you just can't replicate. You can't find anywhere else. So supporting those locals who are there, preserving their culture, preserving their art, trying to make a living, it's so important to really like emphasize and highlight that and shop with them, because you really can't get this stuff anywhere else.
No, and it's beautiful when you can bring things back home and there's a story attached to it, or even if you know the person who made it, and you can have an exchange with them of the process of how they made it, or how long, or the tradition within their family, how they learned to make this good in the first place. It goes beyond just a transaction,
Definitely. I think we should touch on the nightlife situation too, because
let's do it.
It's definitely something that confuses first-time visitors. I know there's so many preconceived notions around what it's like to visit a Muslim country. Like is alcohol legal? Is it not legal? Can you drink? There's so much. I think that it's really hard for people to navigate sometimes, because it differs country by country. There are Muslim majority countries that there is alcohol, and there's countries where it's forbidden. They don't sell it. You can't access it. So Morocco, I think it's really important to talk about the nightlife there.
I think people also draw a comparison every single time to Dubai, because they are so conservative and strict. So they are always sending warnings to travelers. You can't do this. You can't. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So like we mentioned before, alcohol is there, but it's just not common. And a lot of times you'll be served alcohol during lunch, during dinner, but don't expect like a vibrant nightlife. I think what they do an amazing job of is you can actually host private parties, or they host private parties at the Riads, where you can get dancers and entertainment and indulge in all the alcohol you can think of, versus like going to a club or a bar and expecting that experience.
Absolutely. You'll be able to get cocktails and wine at higher end hotels, rooftop lounges, some restaurants. Like it's even at La Mamunia, the infamous Ana Delvey La Mamunia, they have a speakeasy style bar that feels like you're stepping back into time. There's alcohol there, but again, it's not going to be as freely available as it would be in the West in some of the countries that you might be coming from. But again, it's the local culture, right? There is nightlife. It's just different. They have their own culture. They have their own type of music. They have their own style of dancing. And when you're going to a place like this, you want to experience it through their lens, what it looks like to do it like them. And so really just coming in with the expectation that you might not have the same type of nightlife experience that you're used to having where you're from, or having that having that club experience. But there's, of course, underground party scenes. You can find music and DJs and things like that. You have to know where to look. You can ask at your hotel, or obviously if you're working with the travel advisor, they can point you in the right direction of where to go. But just be mindful that it is definitely a different culture. It's definitely more modest. It is a predominantly Muslim country. So you want to make sure that you're going in with that expectation and respecting it, because ultimately, like, you're in their country. And so follow their customs and rules and just how they do things. It almost feels like sometimes, and I know in the times that we are with social media, people are so quick to like want to record people or want to just emulate the experiences that they see people having online, but you're stepping into somebody else's world. Observe, be mindful. Yes. Don't come in with that kind of colonizing mentality where you think that their society or their setup should
reflect yours.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah. And coming with that energy, people feel it. It's going to rub people off the wrong way. And you're ultimately really just not going to enjoy yourself.
And you're with them at the end of the day. Like, you do rub them the wrong way. They make the decision of they don't want you at the vibe, then they don't want you at the vibe. And I think another thing is, for me, from where we're from, tri-state area, I'm kind of over the club scene here. Right? So it's okay to go somewhere else and experience their nightlife. Don't expect it. And another thing I love is that their nightlife is more intimate. Yeah. It's more low key. Like, imagine a wonderful DJ set in like an underground spot or another speakeasy. Yeah. It's just low key and you can really enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I also love hearing their music.
Oh, it's amazing.
The instruments, it's nothing like you've heard before. It's nothing like you've experienced before. It's just so different.
It's one of a kind, seriously. So I think we also want to get into the reality check and no gatekeeping.
Yeah. We need to tell you the truth.
We want to talk about just the art of negotiation when it comes to bargaining like a pro during your next trip.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We all know the Marrakesh souks, the markets, are legendary. They're vibrant. They're chaotic. They're packed with literally everything from gold jewelry, hand-woven rugs. I mean, there's really, truly nothing you probably can't get there. But if you don't know how to navigate it, you're not only going to overpay, you're probably going to get lost. I mean, these places are like a maze. It's so chaotic and so hectic. So let's just let's set the record. Let's set the record straight for a second.
First thing to know. The first price is never the final price, okay? Never. And when I say that is if you see something that you like, of course, if it's $100, I'm using US dollars, $100, go 30 to 50% under that and see what you can do. Maybe press 50 first. So, can I get this for $50? If it's a no, go up to 45%. Okay, can I get this for $65? I don't know if that math is right, but see where you can go from there is the number one rule first.
Yeah, I know in the States and in other places too, you know, bargaining isn't really a thing. Like you go to a store.
Unless you're in New York.
Right. Exactly. The price is the price pretty much. You go to Target, you go to Walmart, you're not bargaining at the register. The price is the price. But in Morocco at these souks, that's kind of the point. They want to get the best deal. You want to get the best deal. So don't be afraid to negotiate. I think the biggest thing too is don't look so eager. Like, if you like something, yes, you can like it, but keep your poker face. Like, don't tell the whole story. you know, it's hard when you find the thing that you want to play it cool. But if you look like you're in love with the thing and you know you can't live without it, they can sense the desperation on you and they're not going to budge on that price. So play it cool. Like Sierra said, they give you 100, you go down to 50, and then see how you can work your way to the middle. But
hike it up from there.
Again, the first price is not the final price. And again, don't be afraid to walk away.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Another pro tip, which I think is like absolutely hilarious because I'm just thinking about myself doing it and just the reaction. Oh, I'll think about it. Like, okay, no, it's not $50, it's $80. Okay, I'll think about it. 9 times out of 10, they will be like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So make sure you just don't take no for a no. Just be like, okay, well, I'll think about it. I'll come back around. They want that money. So you never know what could happen from there.
And also, just to know, not everywhere you can haggle, right? At some of these higher end boutiques, places like Sous Sharifia or some of the artisan co-ops, like the price is the price. So just know in advance or maybe ask before you start haggling. Not every single price, you know, don't start going to restaurants and start haggling the price.
No, we're talking about the traditional markets, y'all. Don't
go too far. Don't go to Zara and start negotiating and haggling.
Well, fed is here.
Don't do that. I think the biggest thing to note is that if you go somewhere and you're wondering ask, is this price negotiable? And see if you're in a place where they do negotiate or if the price is the price. That's the best tip. But typically when you're in those open market souks or that's when you can negotiate. But if you're in a higher end boutique or somewhere where they actually have price tags, typically don't try to haggle. The price is the price. And ultimately, especially if you're in those artisan co-ops, you're supporting locals. So if you can afford it and you feel like that's a fair price, pay it. So just definitely, and it honestly, sometimes if you try to haggle in those places, it really does come off offensive. So just keep your wits about you. If you have a question about whether something's negotiable, ask before you start haggling, is this negotiable? And you're good to go and you won't offend anyone.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that. And then another thing is, and I've learned this the hard way, Apple Maps, Google Maps, not your friend in these markets. It's literally what they call it is a maze. So the best thing you can do when you're entering into the market is pin your location. So then you can figure out how to get back to where you started. If you're in the middle of the market and you try to then get directions to get out, it's not going to work. You may get lost. And then who wants to panic in the middle of a maze?
Yeah, definitely. Drop that pin, drop your location
drop that
before
pin.
you start wondering, or even just ask somebody too. You're in a place where the people are so hospitable. They're so nice. Be polite. Ask questions. The people are willing to help you, especially if they know you're a foreigner. You know, it's never a wrong thing to go up to somebody and ask for directions or ask for help, but just don't expect for your map to be able to guide you everywhere. It's just not going to work that way. And another thing in these markets is like the vendors can be pushy. Let's be real. Like they want to make that sale. And even people who seem like they're being helpful on the street, sometimes they expect you to pay them after.
Right.
So be firm but polite. A simple no thank you, no shukran, it works wonders. Like just beware, like sometimes the energy can be a little pushy, but you just have to be firm and polite. It's okay to walk away. If you didn't ask for help and somebody's trying to offer their help, be a little extra friendly. Just know they're waiting for their $1-2 to get slid in their hand.
Nothing is free in this life. And you know what? If that's overwhelming for you, maybe earlier is better.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Yeah.
I think for people who may be a little bit averse to that chaotic midday market energy where it's just a little overwhelming, the noises, the sounds, the smells, like it's too much, you can get a private guide to take you earlier and be able to have a more quiet souk experience that isn't as chaotic, where you're still going to get those vendors, they'll still be out, but it's a little bit earlier in the day where there's less people and you'll be able to feel a little bit more comfortable. There are private guides. I think that's a really good way to go, especially if there's a huge language barrier as well. That's a great option. But speaking of, you made a good reference, nothing is for free. Let's talk about the free experiences, because that's something that people get so caught up in sometimes.
If you don't go earlier and you are overwhelmed, we all know we respond to things differently when we're kind of panicked and not leveled versus when we are. So another pro tip and the reality of things, nothing is free at these markets experiences. If someone is offering you a free henna tattoo, or they're offering you maybe a photo with a snake charmer, we'll get more into that later, nothing is free. Because what will happen is you take the picture with the snake, you get the beautiful henna tattoo, which takes a lot of time, which should let you know it's definitely not free.
Right.
And then they're looking at you for money. And then you're like, you said it was free. And then it becomes an awkward thing. So nothing is free. If someone offers you something free, maybe offer the price that you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Definitely. It's so important. If anybody's offering you a free tasting, there's so many like camel ride gimmicks. There's so many just little shticks that are going around in the city. It's just make sure that you understand that. Ultimately, they want money. Nothing is free. Also, sometimes like there are some just overpriced cafes too. There's some spots that literally will charge double the price for a basic drink just because you're getting a view. Most of them are not worth it. Listen to us when we tell you Les Jardins, Elfen, or Nomad. That's where you're going to go for those stunning rooftop views. Anything else around the city, I mean, it's most likely going to be a trap. It's going to be overpriced, not worth it. Those 3 places are really where it's at, but don't get scammed by some of these places that are trying to charge you double just because it's a rooftop, and then it's just a rooftop that looks over to an alley.
Yeah, no, start there because you definitely don't want to take the time to spend your money, go to the rooftop, and then it's nothing. And then you'll end up going to those places that we mentioned anyway.
Definitely.
So, and another thing.
Oof, let's talk about them taxis, girl.
Taxis, which I think is universal, unfortunately, when it comes to this scam. Always ask for the price. Once you give the destination, ask for the price before you get in. Before you sit and close that door, ask for the price. Yeah. Because a lot of people will say, okay, we're going based on the meter, or we're going based on the amount of passengers. And then you get to the destination and it could be 3 to 4 times of what you budgeted. And then say you don't have that cash on you, now what?
Now, exactly. And not only that, but again, if they don't agree, walk away and find another cab.
There's so many.
Yeah, you're not going to be stranded anywhere. They also have apps, but just make sure that you're using the right ones, the local ones, so you can get the best prices. So they have Careem, and they also have Bolt. I've used Bolt. They have Bolt actually in Europe as well. So some of you guys might be familiar with the app Bolt, but Careem and Bolt are definitely some local alternatives to Uber or Lyft, and they'll give you a set price up front. So if you don't feel like haggling, or you're not the type of person who feels confident maybe in negotiating a price with a taxi cab driver, download those 2 apps before you go, set up your payment method and all that, and you'll be able to book, and you'll know exactly what the price is up front. I think that's definitely worth it if you don't feel like you're a good negotiator, which is listen, fine. It's a skill.
It's a skill that takes a lot of experience and like those awkward situations to become stronger. And if you don't even want to go through, say you don't have the proper phone service or anything like that, you could work with your advisor to get private transports wherever you need to go.
Definitely. What about the language barrier?
Which is always like a very pain point for me because I'm not the best at languages. But Morocco's official language is Arabic. I think we mentioned before that French is widely spoken. So if you know French, then you're in luck.
Yeah.
English is hit or miss. I think in a lot of the places we were talking about before, of the traditional hotels, of course, there's going to be someone there that speaks English. If you work with your advisor, with tour guides, you will have a guide that speaks English. But I think it's just out of respect, know a little bit of Arabic, know a little bit of French, at least things that in a case of an emergency, or you need to know how much something is, you know how to communicate with someone.
Definitely. It's always helpful whenever you're going somewhere where English isn't the official language. Don't assume that people know English. I feel like Americans, we have this assumption that everybody learns English around the world. English is not widely spoken everywhere. Obviously, with the advent of social media, the younger people may know some English, especially for folks who work in the tourism and hospitality industry, at your hotels and stuff. They'll definitely speak English, but everyday locals that are just working in the market or aren't a part of the hospitality or tourism industry, don't assume that they speak English, and also don't come with that entitlement of expecting people to speak English and almost being upset or kind of feeling offended that you're not able to communicate in your home language because you came there. They didn't ask you to come.
And we're telling you ahead of time here. So I feel like find a solution before you go into a mode of panic or why. really figure out a solution. Download French, download Arabic in a translator app so you have it. And we're saying download it just in case you don't have phone service or anything goes out at the time. And that's your way to communicate.
Also, just learn some key basic phrases in Arabic. There, you can get a long way with a little shukran, a little salam, salam alaikum. Like, just learning it also just makes people feel better that, one, you took the time out of your day to pick up some key phrases to communicate with them. I think it goes a long way when you're going places where English or whatever your native language isn't the official language there. I think it makes people feel like, okay, well, at least you're trying. They may have more patience to help you if they don't speak.
They always smile at you.
Yeah, at least you're trying. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's so important. And at least if Arabic is a little stretch and you can't do that, at least maybe learn some French. Yeah, a couple French words will definitely get you a long way. But you mentioned something. You said download Arabic and French. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. On Google Translate, you can download a language, like the entire language, and it works offline. So if you don't have service, actually, you can put anything into Google Translate offline, and if you downloaded the language, you'll get the translation even if you don't have service. What are the other tips in terms of apps that people should use? Because I know you brought up the Google Translate one. We brought up Kareem and Bolt. Oh, you know what? Google Maps too. I think on Google Maps you can also download an entire region.
Yes, you can. There's also maps.me and I know I personally use it's just like a generic translator app. If you go on Apple Store or Play Store, you can find it and you can actually take a picture of maybe a menu you're looking at or a sign, and it can translate it for you in real time. So that's another suggestion, just in case it's not spoken, but it's anything that you see that you don't understand, you can also translate it that way.
Yeah, I feel like we should give some tips on how to navigate Marrakesh like a pro because, it is a Muslim city. And I think some of the biggest things that people are worried about is how do I dress? And I know that's a big concern, especially for the ladies. So I think one of the biggest tips would be to try to dress modestly.
Yeah. Like, don't completely wipe out your personality or feel like you can't be yourself. But, don't have the boobies showing. Don't have everything out. Dress respectfully. And you know what? You need an out. I'm sure 15 to 30 minutes being in the environment, you will see how people dress. You can also look at content creators to see how they dress. You can look at TikTok videos. You can also ask your advisor that have direct communications with tourism committees that can tell foreigners, depending on what country you're from, how you should alter your wardrobe to be respectful of the local customs.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the basics are just cover your shoulders and knees. And I think that will just come a long way. It's a sign of respect. And also it keeps you from just getting some unwanted attention because when you're in a place where most of the women do cover up, when you're that one person,
it's going to call attention.
You know what I mean? Everybody's going to be staring at you. And then you're getting that unwanted attention or maybe that solicitation that is really, unsolicited. You're not trying to get that attention. You don't want the eyes. You don't want the little kisses.
No,
so
please.
Just for yourself and the respect of everyone around you, cover up. It makes a huge difference in how you'll be treated. What are some other things? I feel like a lot of people travel thinking they can use their credit card everywhere.
No, cash is king.
Yeah.
When it comes to tipping, which is something that is expected and should absolutely be respected, you need cash around. And for me, what I recommend to my clients, some people don't because of safety reasons, but make sure before you depart, you have the cash on hand.
Yeah.
I think some people will go to airports, some people may go to ATMs like once they land, but I really think you should have whatever cash budget that you had already on hand once you leave.
For sure. I totally agree with that. And I think that the biggest thing is just to make sure that, when you're at these local souks and markets, like these vendors don't have Cash App, they don't have Zelle, they don't have Venmo. Like you're not going to be able to tap and use your Apple Pay. Like have cash on hand. Cash is king anywhere. And it makes it even easier to negotiate actually.
Yeah, it does.
Because whatever you have in your hand is what you know what I mean? It is what it is.
What do people always say back at home? They're like, oh, I can't give you this price because it's 3% card fee and this. You don't even have to deal with that.
Yeah, there's ain't none of that there. And I feel like the local food too is such a big part of the Moroccan culture because you can get stuck kind of going to some of those like gimmicky places or touristy places, but like the food there is so good. That's something you just don't want to miss on. So what are your tips when it comes to the local food?
So from what I heard from locals, they have Cafe Clock, which is a chill place where it's more of like an artsy crowd. And I always say you should be around the high ballers, you should be around the luxury, but you should also be a part of the artsy crowd as well. They also have something, I'm going to see if I can pronounce it, Michoui? Valley. Meshwi Valley, alley, excuse me. And that's best for their slow roasted lamb that's straight from the pit.
Oh
so
my
you're
God,
literally going to taste the smoke on it. And then also the street food carts, which I know is even a thing if you live in the tri-state area where we have
the halal carts and stuff.
A melting pot of different cultures. We know that Moroccan street food is top tier.
But eat where the locals eat. If you don't see people who are local eating there, don't eat there. I always say this too to my friends. Sometimes I'm like, if I go to a Chinese restaurant and I don't see Asian people in there eating, I'm walking out. If you don't see the locals standing there eating, it probably doesn't hit. If you only see Chads and Brads there, I'm pretty sure you should walk in the other direction.
And it may be overpriced because if it's a spot that only tourists will be at, I mean, nothing's wrong with it being overpriced, but if you're not getting the value out of it, what's the point?
Yeah,
right?
And it's not authentic. You're just getting some Americanized or westernized version of Moroccan food instead of the real deal. So eat where the locals eat and you won't be steered away. What about this is another thing I feel like people they're so used to the hustle and bustle of being in the West, whether it's in the UK or in America. Everything, you order your food and it's done in 10 minutes.
Yes, we have no patience, including myself.
Y'all, pack your patience.
Expect the city to move at its own pace, not your pace. It's not your world. You're in their vibe. You're in their world. So expect a slower pace. But what I will say, especially when we talk about if you're having any breakfast at the desert or at a Riad, like know that the time it takes is worth it. They are putting effort and love into whatever you're eating. And don't be impatient. Like, it's vacation. I think another thing is the slower that you are, the more you can experience it and the more you can reflect on it when you get back home. Where if you're rushing and doing everything, that's why I don't remember my day to day when I'm at home. Mm-hmm. But when I'm on vacation, I really try to slow down and also respect the other people's time. If they're not used to working at a certain rate that's acceptable here, it's not their problem.
It's really it's really not their problem. And also, it's cultural, right? We all know color people time. Some people just don't have a sense of time. It's part of their culture, okay? Like, it's their culture. It's not bad hospitality. Don't skimp on the tip because it took a little bit longer than you're used to. They're not in a hurry. Moroccans are not in a hurry. They live there. They're going to be working whether you come there or not. So they don't expect you to be in a hurry. So don't expect them to be in a hurry. It's just all a part of the experience. And I think that understanding that will just make your experience a lot better, and maybe it'll inspire you to slow down a little bit too.
Because we all have to for our nervous system. Please slow down. Please slow down. And something that I think we're both guilty of as advisors, as planners, you don't have to have everything, every hour of your trip planned to a T. Sometimes the hidden gems are something you just stumble upon. Mm-hmm. You're walking through the town and you smell something that is amazing and you want to indulge, or you see a beautiful jewelry set. Nothing that was on the guide, nothing your advisor told you, but you just stumbled upon it. So don't think you need all your days planned to a T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give yourself time to roam. Give yourself time to enjoy, because there's so much to take in. There's really no need to be in a rush.
Don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, it's also nice to have those kind of times of the day where you have that space where you kind of just leave to fill itself, whether you meet a local and they take you somewhere, or they give you a recommendation. Like, always leave yourself some time, especially in destinations like Marrakesh, because there's so much to see, and there's also so much that's not online that you'll just stumble upon while you're there. So give yourself the time to enjoy that. I think the other thing before we get into, where people should stay and all that, is a big thing, I think, that isn't just in Morocco or Marrakesh particularly, but is really important, and that's animal tourism. I think this is a really important conversation to have, because it's not just here, right? It's in a lot of places, but particularly in Morocco, it's a little complicated, because in Marrakesh, you'll see the snake charmers, you'll see the monkey handlers, you'll see them even offering camel rides in the city. But honestly, it's not ethical.
It's not at all. You don't know how these animals are being taken care of. You don't know where they came from because they just don't have that history and that story there. And I think a lot of times people would rather go to a sanctuary where you can experience the wildlife and the animals that are in that region, but you're not abusing them.
Yeah,
right?
You're doing it in their habitat, right? Because like camels don't naturally occur in the city. So if you see you know what I mean? If you see a camel ride in the city, it's like, what? Camels shouldn't be there. Go to the desert to experience the camel culture. Make sure that you're going through a tour operator that treats them well, that actually cares about their well-being. And you can tell too by the way that they're tied up, by whether or not they're getting chances to rest, I think it's just use your senses and just make sure that you're not adding to the animal abuse problem, because it does happen, right? These monkeys are taken out of the wild at a very young age. They're caged up. They're put in human clothing and chained up. And it's so sad, and all that just for a picture. I really don't think it's worth it. And again, this isn't just a Marrakesh thing. We're not singling Marrakesh out, but it's something that you will see. And it's just important to note that what you're seeing, while it may, make for a nice Instagram picture, is it really worth like being a part of something that ultimately it's not ethical? Another thing we'll say is there are tons of stray cats all over the
everywhere.
City. Their cats are our squirrels. I
love that comparison. When she said, I was like, huh?
There's cats everywhere. It's pretty common in the Middle East, actually, but it's just a culture shock, I think, for a lot of us Americans, especially, to just see cats everywhere. Is very common. They get fed. They get treated really well. Like don't be scared of them. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going and petting them because they're not domesticated. A lot of them aren't like, they don't live in the house with people. So they're just out in the street. They might have fleas or anything, but it's totally normal. You'll see them everywhere. But it is.
Don't be scared. Don't run away.
It takes some getting used to. I definitely know that it takes some getting used to. So let's jump into some, do you want to jump into some accommodations and then we'll get into the most Googled questions, I feel like.
Of course. So I think we mentioned before of how it kind of gives a duo combination of traditional hotels, and then you also have the absolutely beautiful Riads. So I think the first one is the Royal Mansour, which is more the traditional Moroccan Riad, casually, but then there are other options that are more traditional hotel.
Yeah, the Royal Mansour is actually owned by the King of Morocco. Fun fact, Morocco is a kingdom. They have a king who claims to be the direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. Don't quote me. I don't know if that's true or not, if he actually is, but the Royal Mansour is owned by the King of Morocco. It's stunning. It has they have a hotel, but they also have private riads too. They have their own plunge pools and roof terraces. There's El Fen, which is more of a bohemian artistic luxury vibe. It's actually owned by Richard Branson, the Virgin Atlantic Richard Branson, who owns Necker Island. His sister owns it, funny enough, and it has such an amazing collection of contemporary Moroccan art, which is just stunning. I think it's worth going to, even if it's just for a drink.
And then quickly going over to food, there's also a place which I think is super interesting that's plus 61, and it actually is named for the Australian dialing code because it's a fusion of Australian and Moroccan food with
That's
an excellent wine list. And I need to experience that. Any fusion restaurants?
I love me some fusion.
I'm all down for it.
I love me some fusion. That sounds amazing. Let's get into the most burning Google questions that people have about Marrakesh to wrap up.
Let's do it. So when's the best time to visit, since we talked about temperature a lot?
Yes, spring and fall, I think, are the perfect times to go for the weather and fewer crowds. Avoid the summer.
It's not summer hot like what you think. It's not. It's brutal. It's brutal. Don't do it.
Definitely spring and fall for sure.
And then what should you avoid? Just wrapping up kind of our reality no BS section.
Yeah, overpaying in this definitely avoid that. Definitely negotiate where you can. Don't get scammed by fake guides, and again, don't get into the animal tourism within the city, I would say.
And then I'm going to freestyle this one. How would you explain the overall kind of spirit and hospitality of the Moroccan people?
Honestly, Moroccans are so interesting. They're so diverse. Their culture is like, it's just like something you've never experienced before because they have so many different influences. They have the indigenous influence, they have the Arab influence, they have the French and Spanish influence. It's so funny because a lot of Arabs will say they actually can't even understand Moroccans when they speak Arabic because they have their own unique dialect that's so different. Moroccans are just, I mean, they're made up of such a diverse group of people. The hospitality, they want you to come, they want you to experience their culture. It's really beautiful. I think that we all just have a lot to learn from such a melting pot like Morocco, especially in a city like Marrakesh.
And that's always a beautiful thing when you can learn from the people, even if it's more than a trip, it's an experience overall. And I think in the beginning we said after this episode, it would definitely be on their list of destinations.
Yeah.
I think we did an amazing job of explaining luxury meets hospitality meets authentic culture.
Oh, for
so
sure.
If it's not on your list, it should be now.
Absolutely. You're not going to get some sanitized luxury experience in Morocco. It has edge. She has character. She has soul. Like, it's just so rare now in the globalized world where luxury kind of just looks the same everywhere. But Morocco is still one of those places where you can get that culture. And that's really our goal as travel advisors, right? Is to help you move through the world confidently, experience these places as they truly are, but in a way that's comfortable, and we're giving you access that really just makes travel more enjoyable. So if Marrakesh is on your travel list for 2025 and beyond, we'd love to help you plan an unforgettable journey. We offer itineraries, any help that you need, exclusive access, insider experiences that we talked about today. We'll have everything that we talked about and some more recommendations. Yep, in our show notes on Patreon or Substack. But yeah, we hope you really enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Till next time.
Safe travels.
Bye.